I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, October the 24th, brought to you in part by the International Brangus Breeders Association. Brangus. Nothing fake here, just real ranchers producing top quality beef. To find a breeder or a production sale near you, visit gobrangus.com. Bright fundamentals. I tell you what, things are starting to line up, and I know we're not setting the world on fire selling these calves right now. There's just so many of them right now to choke, and the weather is tumultuous. I tell you what, we got a chance for snow coming in here to the Texas Panhandle on Thursday. Going to be a wintry mix there, and it's been up in the 80s here, you know, just recently, and it's just hard on cattle. These big temperature swings. They've had big snows in the mountain states and in the northern plains already. Those cattle will be in high demand as we start to moderate a little bit, and as this change of weather finally takes place and it gets more consistently colder everywhere, and they've had a good hard freeze everywhere, then things will turn around on these calves, and the calves will be a whole lot easier to sell. There'll be more demand for them. We get done with harvest, there'll be a lot more farmers coming into the market in the Midwest and places, and we just have to look forward to that. But I tell you what, the fundamentals are really good. We're gaining ground in your fat cattle market this week. It looks like it's not going to be too long. You're starting to hear before maybe they'll get that Tyson plant back open. The talk around is this going to happen before the end of the year, and that's just going to be that much better because we've already gotten back to where we were at with a major plant down, with a 6,500 head a day plant down. So we open that back up, and we get this harvest even bigger. That's going to be more outlets for our fat cattle, and we've already gotten over the hump that we were worried about. We still got plenty of market ready cattle in Kansas, but we're working through them pretty fast, and pretty light on ready cattle in the northern plains and even in the Texas Panhandle. So things are going good there. This trade deal is really going to get interesting here before too long. This African swine fever has wiped out your hogs in many places of the world. It hasn't got here yet. I don't see how we're going to keep it out of here. I'm not looking at that as a positive, but I just don't see how we're going to keep it out of here. But out of North America, I mean. But you get over into Asia and places in China where they raise a lot of hogs. It's just wiped them out. And was hearing talk here this week that the price of hogs in China is about 4 times what it is on the average of the rest of the world. And so that's not going to last very long. We're going to be able to start sending a lot of hogs over there. They're thinking maybe as much as 25% of the hogs that we produce we could start sending to China, and that's whether we get this trade deal finalized or not. And that's just going to help. Getting rid of protein is what helps, and that's going to help. Everything is starting to line up to be really good next spring, first of the year into next spring. So we're going to start seeing that start to develop, and I know we've been going through some tough times. I don't want you guys to give up the fight here on vertical integration or on this fake meat or any of the other things that are fighting us, but we do have some good times coming. We just, if we had a little more leverage in the market, we could take more advantage of those. But we're starting to see things turn around a little bit. Cattle on Feed report is due to come out here on Friday. I think it could be bullish again, just from the look of the analysts' guess, the average of the analysts' guess so far. October 1st inventories, they've got them at 98.9. Placements, which is always the most important figure there, for September, they've got them pegged at 101.5. I feel like that's a little high. There was still a lot of uncertainty in the market. We really haven't started seeing guys move a lot of calves until this month here, until we got into October. But some of them may have kept some yearlings out there longer because we did have good pasture conditions. So it might be a washout there, but I would just be surprised if it's any higher than that, with that 101.5 on placements. That's compared to the same report a year ago. Marketings are at 101.1. So we should get through that. That's not the big one. Everybody's kind of looking at the next cattle and feed report as a big mover. But going to be heading up to Kansas this weekend to speak at the Kansas Cattlemen's Association convention there in Newton, Kansas. Not the KLA. They won't let me in the door at the KLA, but that's just fine. We'll go over to Newton and have a good time with some of my good friends there, and we'll have a good talk for the banquet supper that night where I'll be speaking. I hope as many of you can come as possible, and we're looking forward to that. I want to speak about something that I touched on several months ago. Back this summer, up there where I used to live in northwest Missouri, they had a really bad deal where we had some brothers from Wisconsin that raised cattle, and they were sending them to different people to get them fed and grown. And they had sent them to a young fella in a place called Bramer, Missouri, which there's not a heck of a lot there besides a Casey's, and that's about it. If you guys know about Casey's convenience stores. But the Diemel brothers, Nick and Justin Diemel, they were from Wisconsin. They were in the cattle business. Didn't know them personally, but I do know that Nick was a follower of mine. He was a feeder flash gang guy, and he would have had to have been a pretty good guy as far as I'm concerned. But they didn't check that boy out good enough. They sent some cattle down to him. He didn't take good care of them. There was a lot of fraud going on there. He owed them quite a bit of money. They flew down from Milwaukee to check out what was going on with their cattle situation and try to get some satisfaction out of the deal. They never showed up again after that. They come up missing. The pickup that they had rented showed up at a commuter lot towards Kansas City there. And anyways, we all kind of felt like we knew what had happened, but they'd been holding this young man. His name was Joey Nelson, and you know, I hate to pound on him too much. I know people that know him, and I think ignorance was probably the worst thing that he had going for him, and immaturity, and got in over his head and just grabbing at straws there, but. Anyways, they had him held on that tampering with that vehicle charge, but finally on Wednesday morning they did charge him with murder because they feel like that they felt like they know what happened from what they've seen with all the evidence. They had neighbors that heard shots. They feel like that he shot those two men with a rifle, a .30-30. He burned their bodies. He hid the remains in a compost or in a manure pile, and it's pretty gruesome, guys. But I tell you what, you just hate to see. I know desperate people do desperate things, but you hate to see something happen like that in the cattle business, where so much is done just on a agreement over the phone or a handshake or something like that. But you get into a deal like that. Just glad to see for the family of those two brothers. The Diemel family up there in Wisconsin, and I know that the older one had several children and a wife, and you just hope that maybe a little bit of justice for them. This deal all works out. You know, we don't know for sure that he's guilty, this Nelson fellow, but it sure looks like it, and everybody around there pretty much feels like they know what happened. But let's talk about what's happened on the cattle markets here. On Wednesday, board for Wednesday, October live cattle up 32 cents at 110.20. December up $1.55 at 115 a quarter. The spot October would have been up a bunch too if we hadn't had more pressure from the deliveries. And the deliveries to try to get the cash and the board in line. It's just too bad that they can't get the cash much higher. They have to pull the board down, but that's weighing against your spot market there, and it's right at maturity. October feeder cattle up $1.32 at 145.02, which is beyond what your index levels are or what your cash feeders are bringing, because you got all these calves pressure in the market. November up $1.25 at 144.75. Your fat cattle trade So far for the week, there hasn't been anything that happened on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, we did start seeing some things break loose. We had confirmed sales, a few in Iowa at 174, a few more in Nebraska, 174, and a little bit of 109 live. But later in the afternoon, started hearing a lot of reports, just private sources saying that 174, 175 was pretty prevalent bids out there, and there was a few more people taking that. In the Southern Plains, they did see some trades start taking place at 109, and that's already a buck higher here, middle part of the week. So that 109 is a victory in the Southern Plains. Probably going to take more than that in the Northern Plains. They're probably going to want 11 for all the cattle live that they sell, and maybe 12 out in the west parts. So that would be interesting there. Not sure if we're going to get the dress market any higher than not. I was talking to my friend Jim Felton out there at the Felton Angus Ranch in Montana. I talk to him real regularly. He sent a bunch of his fat cattle that on a buyback program that he had bought some customers that had bought his bulls and had some calves for sale. He's got a small feedlot there. He fed those cattle out himself, sent them out to Agri Beef, and told me that he got the results back and the cattle on a 176 negotiated grid dress price. His cattle come back live at 116.50 almost. That would be awful good. And dress basis, almost 184. They come back because they were 90% choice or better, and hit a lot of the really good niches in that grid. But so good for him, and he'll be having a bull sale, Felton Angus Ranch bull sale, second Monday in February. It'll be on dvauction.com. Look at your box beef cutout values. They were sharply higher on the choice on Wednesday. $223.28, up $2.35 just in the one day. And that is a giant jump there. Not as big as it jumped after the Holcomb, Kansas fire, but for just a regular old daily trade, just on regular supply and demand, that's a huge jump. Selects Wednesday afternoon, 198.94, up 86 cents. Starting to narrow that a little bit, but when you have this big disparage and your choice is sharply higher, now we stretch back up out there over $24. But we feel like that's going to start coming together a little bit more. Your slaughter through Wednesday, 355,000, 4,000 more than last week, with that one plant dark there later on in the week, but just through Wednesday I'm talking, and just 2,000 less than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about what else is going on. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central late in the day on Wednesday, 143.24, down 53 cents, and just continues to be under pressure with these big calves and more of them moving. You notice the CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index is about $1.50 higher than that. 144.84, the last available. It'll be a little bit lower than that when it comes out to be current with that 143.24. But I've been there and done that. The information they're using as whenever some of these calves sell so far off of the market due to flesh, no shots, not being weaned, things like that, especially those heavier calves that get into the index. Sometimes they get left out of those market reports. Your price spread gets too wide, so you have to hack the bottom of them off a little bit, and that's one reason that your cash CME index is running so much higher than your real-time index. Let's talk about Loma, Colorado. Formerly Western Slope Cattlemen's Livestock Auction there, now under new ownership, new management. Loma Livestock LLC as they're going under in Loma, Colorado. They had the first big sale under new ownership, and I tell you what, the facility there is fantastic. You've never seen a nicer auction arena. They've got white tablecloth restaurant in there with the best food in that part of the country, but had a good run there, about 1,500 feeders that we picked up on Cattle Market Central. Look at this market report and you see that they had competitive prices, had a well-tested market with a pretty good amount of cattle in all your popular weight groups there. But we're looking forward to hearing more good things out of Loma, Colorado now that they're back up and going at Loma Livestock LLC. Oklahoma City, or OKC West, excuse me, El Reno, Oklahoma, had 9,600 head this week on their Tuesday and Wednesday sale. Of course, heavily on Wednesday, but about 7,500 there on Wednesday sale. Feeder steers over 800 pounds were mostly steady. Your big feeding heifers were $1 to $2 higher. Feeder calves were $2 to $3 lower. And then your lighter calves on Tuesday, your wean calves were steady to firm. Your ballers, your non-vaccinated, non-work calves had a lower undertone, and that's just going to continue. A lot of your unweaned calves, not worked, were selling $15 to $20 back of your weaned and worked calves there, and that's just that's been the trend in all of your sales this week. Light calves that could go to wheat or have a lot of options are higher. Your bigger calves weighing 5.5 up to 7 or higher, your sure enough calves are a touch cheaper. The ones that aren't weaned and no shots or anything would be a big discount. And then what yearlings that we have, the true yearlings on hand at whichever sale you're talking about, are sure steady to stronger. Winter livestock, Dodge City, Kansas had a pretty good run, 3,900 head there. Their trend, as called by Market News, was mixed, ranged from $4 lower to $2 higher, and the same kind of a deal. Your fleshier ball and calves are going to be lower, and that's where your $4 lower come in. And then your weaned calves with the best demand to turn out on wheat, which they got a lot of it around Dodge City, were higher. Talk about some sales that I haven't mentioned before. Twin Falls Livestock Commission Company. Jake Billington called me several weeks ago, was wanting to get involved with Cattle Market Central, get mentioned on Feeder Flash more often, and is now turning their market in, automated right from the block, and we're tickled to be getting them quoted every time they have a sale now, and they sell them as high as anywhere for where they sit. You know, they're out west there and not getting, of course, what you get in western Nebraska or something. But check out the big quote out of Twin Falls that I found for their Wednesday sale. 69 head of big steers weighed 839 pounds at $146.50. That's pretty darn respectable anywhere you go, especially way out in Twin Falls, Idaho there. Hardin County Stockyards, Savannah, Tennessee. They had a big sale on Wednesday, and you think maybe the Tennessee stockyard like that sell them all one at a time. Well, they sold 3 pot loads off one deal. They averaged 810 pounds on the loads there at $138.50. That'd be pretty good way out there in Tennessee. Torrington Livestock Markets, Torrington, Wyoming, 3,800 head there. Similar trend, light calves higher, bigger calves a little bit cheaper, and yearling feeders higher again. But look at this quote, the highest quote I've seen on 8 weights for quite a while. 111 head of 818 pound steers, Torrington Livestock Markets, $157.75. Wow. And then the top quote goes to my old stomping ground, St. Joe Stockyard, St. Joe, Missouri. All my good friends there. They had the Knetter cattle there come from around Lawrence, Kansas there. They're represented, professionally bought and sold by a commission friend of mine, Larry Schrick, from the same area, but brought those cattle in there. I tell you what, the condition is out of this world. Quality is good. 89 head, 758 pound steers in St. Joe, Missouri, bring $164. And that's your Feeder Flash for Thursday.